So the skirting's arrived today. I ordered new skirting online. We've gone for MDF skirting. Obviously you can get timbered skirting, but I decided to go for MDF for a couple of reasons. A, it was a bit cheaper. Secondly, it doesn't warp and therefore it's fairly straight, and that, especially trying to put it onto the wall, I thought that would be easier. So we've gone with a 170, so quite a higher one. That will give us the ability to put it over the original skirting profile, so therefore the plaster will be nice and sharp at the top. So we've gone for a higher one, certainly in a very simple contemporary, just a bullnose profile. We didn't want all this fancy architrave that you can get if you like that type of profiles, and that's great. Yeah, so what I'll do, using the circular saw, I shall cut at a 45 degree. That'll give me the profiling to follow. I shall then circular saw this way about 5 to 15 degrees, and using the small profiling saw, I shall just saw that there, and that will just again give me a nice smooth transition into there. So tools for the job is obviously I need a tape measure, pencil. I've got these little wedges just in case I have to hold the wedge up. I've got grab adhesive. I'm not going to use nails. I shall use grab adhesive on the boards. I think that'll be good enough. I'm not going to screw in. Obviously, depending on your walls and how good true the piece of wood is you're using, especially if you're using wood, you might need to use screws. So I'm going to try just the grab adhesive only. I've got this coping saw, profiling saw. I've got my circular saw outside. I should be using obviously safety glasses and ear defenders for that, and then also for the grab adhesive, and then a 90 degree to make sure I get a nice square edge on the saw. So outside I've got a couple of these A-frame which are really useful just to support the wood. I've got my Makita circular saw that I shall use. Boards 3 metre and 4 metre length boards. That way I'm going to reduce the amount of joins. I'm still going to have some joins because I've got to get the board behind the radiator, so undoubtedly I'm going to have to make some joins somewhere. Challenging ones will be the external corner mitres, so I just need to look up as to the best way to measure that and also get a nice chamfered cut on it, because undoubtedly the walls will be off and therefore it won't be nice 45 degrees, so I've got to work out how I'm going to do that. Say somehow I've got to get the board behind the radiator. I won't be able to get this on this wall here, for example, in one length, I'm pretty sure of that. This is over 4 metre length anyway, this wood wall is, so it's going to have a join in, so it's far better to join it behind the radiator where you won't see it as much. I also took the advantage of, they do an offer in a service of priming the MDF. You can buy them primed or unprimed. Obviously you pay a bit more premium for a prime one, but that's going to save me a shed load of work of painting, which I hate anyway. So that's going to give me at least the undercoat paint, and I've just got to do the top coat paint, which is brilliant as far as I'm concerned. The skirting totals I think was about £216 for 3 4 metres, 3 3 metres, 170mm high bullnose profile, 15mm thick they are, and 3 grab adhesives. I suspect I might need more grab adhesive, but we'll start with that. I can easily go nip up to the local shop if I need to get more grab adhesive. So I learnt a lot on that. Despite the board being straight, the walls are way off. It was probably better if I screwed it possibly, I don't know. But I certainly need wedges, and I need to think of how I can clamp it against, which is obviously wedging against using screws on the floorboard and wedging it somehow. So the next one I'm going to get prepared with the wedges. So this time, in readiness, I haven't glued this one yet, but I've screwed into the floorboard, got a brace, and then a wood so I don't scratch the wood that I can push down on that will keep the pressure on. And I shall do that in a couple of places basically. So that went down a bit better, to be honest. A bit less panic on that one. The grabbing agent takes a lot longer to set, so you got more time than you think. But I'm hoping that will fix it now, so I'll leave it overnight before I take off the braces, I think. The floor's a bit all over the place, so I'm having to pack underneath to get it level. So I've just come to do my first scribe. So I'm going to practice in the far left corner. It's a shorter piece and I shall cut it to length, so if I go wrong I'll keep doing it until I get it right. So like I said, these aren't how-to videos, these are videos based on me watching how-to videos and to see how I get on and maybe the pitfalls you'll come across. You can do this without a circular saw, you can do it with hand saw, and I'll put a video in the link if you haven't got a hand saw. I happen to have a circular saw, I haven't got a chop saw though, so I don't know whether that's going to hamper me. So my circular saw is obviously being on the hand, whereas a chop saw is on a jig, so it's more stable. But you can actually create yourself a little jig, and I'll put a really useful video in the description if you wanted to do it by hand. Make sure whenever you adjust your blade you got it switched off of the power so there's no accidents. I've actually never done a 45-degree cut with a circle, I've always done 90-degree cuts, so it's the first time I've ever actually adjusted the blade. So I made a couple of errors there, to be honest. Tilted it over 45 degrees and didn't adjust the blade depth, so I have to go back and readjust the blade depth. Second time I then had the blade on the wood, so when it kicked and chopped the wood, so it damaged the wood. So just chewed into the MDF. So basically by putting that 45 degree in, this profile here now is the profile I want, and I now need to do a cut that's just over 90 degrees going back that way and following this round with a coping saw. What I'll do, I'll just take the waste off. So I've cut slightly away, going back into it, and now I'm going to take the coping saw to follow that leading edge to give me the curl. Looking at the top there now, I've cut along here, and when I did that 45 degrees that gave me the curl of that. Now I've had to adjust this slightly because the circular saw was running out of 90 degrees, so that's why there's a little step there. I should just make that manual adjustment. So if the wall's out at all, it will actually pivot up and actually still give a sharp edge. Just going round very carefully with the coping saw. Liable to break off with me if I'm not careful. Now I've got that curved edge, it's going backwards so it's not going to fail, so I've got a sharper edge, and that should, I'll just get another piece of wood, it should butt up to there like that. So there's just a little wee bit of sanding I've got to do along the profile to make that a lot better. So one of the tips is to use an old wooden spoon. So there it is in situ. There's a little gap there where I haven't quite got it right, but that's probably because the board's not 90 degrees, in fairness, the one next to it. But that's a lot neater job, put a bit of filler in there, and then this side's just cut to shape, so I'll do a a scribe into that and a 45 degrees this end. That's going to be a bit more challenging, but we'll leave that to the end when I'm a bit more confident with my sawing, I think. So it's day 2 of the skirting, so hopefully the boards yesterday have stuck to the wall so I can take the braces off. If not, I'm going to have to screw them to the wall. They seem to be firm. So I've been thinking overnight. Yesterday I did that scribe method where I did a 45 degree cut. That gave me the shape. I then cut back and did a back cut, which is fine, but it took a lot of extra work. And because I've got such a simple profile, it's just a bullnose profile, I probably don't need to do that. I could go to the simpler scribing, which is simply to mark up the shape and cut it once basically instead of 2 cuts. Also, with the circular saw, it's cooking up quite a bit of dust outside, and because we're just trying to keep the dust down, I think I'm going to try hand sawing today. So you can see that the line is not quite 90 degrees because of the shape of the board is no longer 90 degrees, so I've marked that off. And there's a bit of artistic license to get this right, but I can hopefully shape that because it's such a simple profile. So if you've got more of a complex profile, I think you might want to use that 45 degree method I used yesterday. So I'm going to cut this by hand, but I'm still going to do that back cut that we did yesterday. This makes sure you get a sharp feathered edge, so that allows you, if the other wall's splaying out, it's not going to force a gap here. So by doing a back cut, it will do that. So I'll hand saw it up to this point, and I should just use the coping saw for that final piece. Perfect. So that allows me to mark off exactly to length. So first of all, I'm just going to see the angle of this. That says 90.4, so it's, to be honest, it's near enough 90 degrees. It's the only thing that's 90 degrees in this house. So I think the concept is it's nearly 90 degrees, so you know, it's just just over 45 degrees I've got to cut. So I'm going to measure, I'm going to mark it here where it's hitting the corner. Okay, so I'm going to mark the wood there. I'll do the same the other way. And that's then obviously going to define the bottom corner. I can then mark that. So in essence, all things considered, that's the outer edge there. This ain't easy. Set this to 45.25. The chances of those meeting is slim to none. Well, as expected, it didn't go very well at all with large gaps. I think the main reason was because the floors were out and the walls were out vertically as well. So I ended up doing lots of filling, which seems to be my way, but it turned out all right in the end, and I managed to get it passed by the building inspector, Jane.